starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening and welcome to another exciting show. And hang on a minute, I think I've still got Miles on the phone here. Oh, he's run off. We've had a bit of trouble. Now, Miles is suffering from severe John Hamerism tonight, and as you can see, that is the, and also a bit of a dodgy router. Anyway, good evening and welcome to the show after a lot of technical hitches. Yes. And first of all, we got Della Fockham, which is
Deb, I love Fockham.
And we've got Miles. Hello, Mark. Greetings, Miles. Are you with us?
Greetings. Happy Christmas to everyone. Hello.
Shall we join hands and get married? Miles, have you got any tablets for John Hamerism? For your I mean,
well, I've got a John Hamerism going on at the moment. I've got on my screen. I've got no head.
We can see you perfect. I can see you upside down, but everybody else can see you the right way around. I've just checked, so that's good.
Okay. Who needed a head anyway?
Never mind. That's the trouble. We got a lot queuing up in chat.
We have.
Welcome, everybody. This is a Thursday special with Dr. Miles Fleetwood, who suddenly disappeared. Hang on, where's he gone? And he's come back again. He's gone off again. And he's come back again. Hang on, he doesn't.
Okay, well, let me add him to the stream. Oh, he's back. We're back. Right, okay.
Oh, he's back again. Hey!
Nobody touch anything.
He's got severe John Hamerism tonight. He really has, you know.
Yeah.
He'll be on the phone tomorrow morning till he's paid. That's it.
No, I'm all right. I've got a full.
Hallelujah.
I've decided I'm the best looking of the three of us. Right, let's go. Let's do it double pace.
Right, let's get moving, shall we?
Yes.
Right, now, first of all, we got some what's coming up on the future shows very, very quickly, and then we go straight into what Miles is doing. And I don't know what's going on with the computer, but there's something haunted, I think. I think we've got a haunted computer here. So here we go. Now, this Monday, now, Deb, you can't be with us because you're going to the Far East, I believe.
I am, yes, way over to the east.
You're going over to the east, and it's the place you're going is actually, for its mysticism, is linked with places like Bali and the Silk Road, and you'll be going soaking up the marvelous atmosphere of the east. And where exactly will you be going? It's
Grimsby.
Grimsby. Here we go. The Mystic East. So it will be
not quite the Orient, but you know, it's in that direction.
and it just be me and Michelle.
Yes.
And we will be talking about the true meaning of karma. Very interesting.
Yes.
And then Monday the 26th, which is the Boxing Day, I'm hoping to get Shannon on with numerology. We're going to do a numerology special because she's into numerology.
Yes.
And then on the 2nd of January, we got Professor Gloria Moss talking about egos and ego. Okay. And then after that, I'm hoping to drag on Kicking and Screaming someone called Sue. Hello, Sue. That's a bloody surprise, isn't it? Yeah. She's probably with a T, you know, and she's qualified in psychology, counselling, and psychiatry. I think that's right.
Superb.
And she'll be talking about things to do with the mind, panic attacks, things like that. So, you know, quite interesting things. So tonight we're going to talk, or Miles is going to talk about C.F.N. Now,
Yes.
I thought, I wasn't sure what C.F.N is, so I got myself some ointment for it. And
Superb.
you can't be too careful. So was I wise in doing that, Miles? Over to you.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this cold old evening. It certainly is bitter outside.
Yeah.
I actually found out the hard way with this, which I'll be telling about in just a moment. But C.F.N. is cellular functional nutrition, and basically we've talked about two ways in which you can be deficient of nutrients at the moment. We've talked about how it can be lacking in your diet, so you haven't got the right nutrients in the soils that are growing the crops that we're eating, or you haven't got the right nutrients in other products that you're eating because of storage or because of poor food preparation. So that's one way. We discussed that on the first show. If you want to go back and have a look and recall it, you'll see it. The second show, we discussed a little how the digestive tract is functions to absorb the nutrients and how you can get illnesses and problems with the digestive tract whereby you don't absorb as well as you could do or should do. And tonight we're going to talk at this is the last show of the year, and it's the last show about how you can be malabsorbed. I hope you have some overview at the end of this show of how you can be malabsorbed with nutrients. And this is where the cells don't pick up the nutrients. Now, I don't know if anyone's actually thought about how their body is actually structured. How do you get minerals into bone? How do you get protein into muscles? How do you get indeed iron into blood? These kind of things. And it's such a big subject that I'm kind of doing an overview of it because it's too big for any one half hour to 3/4 hour slot for me to go into any real depth. So as I said, this has been the hardest show so far to prepare for, so you'll have to bear with me because it was only today that I realized I was going to do it in a completely different way. But let's have a quick little think about just one structure, for example, and what that actually, how that is structured. People say, "Oh, you're short of calcium." Not short of a whole range. If you were short of just calcium, there'd be other set of problems, and actually, it wouldn't potentially affect bone on a fast level. It would in the long term, but it wouldn't really affect bone in the short term. What bone actually is the cells that make bone actually first of all lay down a collagen-like substance. Well, it's not a collagen-like substance; it is collagen, and collagen's like human glue. And as the cells age, they mineralize, and so your bone is sort of dying cells, if you like, or aging cells, depending on how you view that. And it starts with just this human glue collagen to structure a new matrix on the bone, so that holds those cells in place, and they mineralize and form bone. So there's why I'm saying I experienced something earlier on today. Luckily, I didn't break it. Well, I don't think I've broken any bones. I fell over in the ice and snow earlier on today. It gave me quite a jolt, and ouch indeed, yeah. Landed on my bum, so it didn't really hurt too much. It just gave me a headache. Well, someone got the joke anyway. Basically, luckily I didn't break bones, but if I'd have broken bones, we would have had to have got the body to repair that, it actually glues it back together with a range of cells called osteoblasts, and it actually builds it stronger than where the tissues aren't broken. So at the fracture site, you actually get stronger bone. So it's very rare, although they orthopedic surgeons will say, oh, you've got it's fractured on the same site. It's very, very unusual to actually fracture on the same site. It's almost certainly going to be next to the same site. And then you get osteoclasts, which actually break down some of that structure of the bone and make it nice and trim in the right shape again. You may feel that you've actually got some, if anyone who's got a break may feel a little lump on the bone where the break was, and that's because it hasn't tidied it up quite 100%. So the body's very good at repairing tissues. Now, why I'm using this as an example tonight of me falling over, I've got a few bruises, nothing serious. I mean, in a week's time, I won't even be bothered mentioning it, so I'm lucky. But where there's bruises, that's actually cells that are damaged. I've damaged the protein in my muscles. I've damaged potentially some blood cells, and potentially a bit of fat and a bit of skin as well. The body recognizes that and actually gets rid of those damaged and dying cells. So we actually want it to do that. It's a very clever procedure that the body goes through, and it sees that the cells are damaged, and it sends out its own killer cells to nobble that cell. Yeah. And if it's not died, and it kills it off and gets it to makes the body replace it. Now, some of the cells are replaced very, very quickly. Think about it, it's all of the cells that are under a lot of wear and tear, suffer a lot of wear and tear. If you take probably some of the quickest to be replaced are actually the cells inside your digestive tract. And there's cells in there that will be replaced 3 to 5 days and they'll get replaced. And that's an important factor, because if you think about it, you've got the digestive enzymes that we talked about in program 2. They're damaging that digestive lining. You've got the food itself damaging the digestive lining, and you've got all of the acids and alkalines in the food that can cause complete disruption to that area as well, let alone fibrous material that rips apart. So we've got a lot going on in the gut, and those cells, like I say, last somewhere between 3 and 5 days normally, and they're replaced, and they're quite routinely replaced. The cells that last the longest, and I only actually found this out today, there's been some research that's found that some of the cells are actually created in uterine, so while you're still a fetus, and those cells see you out, and they're in the brain. There's some of the neurological cells in the brain, and they think they can last about 200 years, given if a human that would live 200 years. So they're pretty robust things. Hence why physical injuries are such a dangerous thing to experience. They're mainly found in the back of the brain, which controls all of the vital organs and the involuntary functionality of a human being. So there's a vast difference between the cells in the gut, which last a few days, to the cells in your brain, which were there from before you were born until the day you die. Well, they function all of that time. All of the other cells are somewhere in between those. And if you think about it, skin cells on your hands will wear out fairly quickly, although they're specially designed for it. If you look at your hand, you've got different skin on the palm of your hand, specially designed for wear and tear compared to the back of your hand. These are called the ones on the back of your hand are the same as skin as you're getting on all of your body, and they're called squamous epithelial tissue. And this is what I want to go into the technicalities. The ones on the palms of your hand are called collimated epithelial tissue, and the collimated are little columns. So as you wear through it, it allows for wear and tear. It gives you some resistance. Whereas the squamous square, and they're little square-shaped cells on the that link together on the skin, and that's softer and more supple and can give more easily. So why is it? Where does the nutrition come into this? Well, as we talked about the cellular structure of bone a little while ago, everything in your body is made up by you. And so if you're replacing blood cells, and red blood cells last somewhere between sort of 4 and 5 months normally, so cells need to be replaced. And when you're replacing them, you're using things like iron, if they're red blood cells, and calcium and magnesium and selenium, manganese if they're bone, and the whole lot of these are replaced. So what happens to all the dead ones? First of all, I'm going to tell you about the dead ones. Have to be filtered out of your body because you've got to get rid of them. They're no good to you. They're going to go rotten if you keep them too long, like anything. So this is where the spleen comes into it. The spleen is like a massive filter, and that takes out probably 95% of the dead cells that the body produces. And it's efficient in doing it. You don't even know you're doing it, and it works very, very profoundly with the help of a couple of other organs, i.e. the liver and the pancreas, and those also help to digest those cells and clear those cells from the body. If they're not cleared, we get all sorts of problems occurring, and this is where we're getting different types of tumors. A lot of those are where cells haven't been cleared from the body, and indeed rogue cells carry on multiplying even though they've had their life. They keep multiplying, and then they form a lump, or otherwise known as a tumor, and then that tumor accelerates its growth because it's been made from rogue cells.
Right.
So very important to get the balance of nutrients correct in the cells, and a lot of the cells are well, virtually all of our cells are dependent upon protein. There's even protein in bone. There's protein in muscle, as you probably know. There's protein in blood. So protein itself has to be built, and that's from what they call amino acids. And these amino acids help the cells restructure themselves and remanufacture themselves, or the protein element of the cells. Then each cell has its own, or each organ, I should say, has its own functionality, which has to be met by the specialist cells that are in the body. So I'm going to stick with bone for the moment because of the fact it's a very good example that most people know of these that's caused if you have a bad balance of minerals in the bone, and that's called osteopenia or osteoporosis, and most people have had one or the other of those too. So if we don't get enough of the minerals in the cell, that cell that I mentioned earlier goes to the bone, produces collagen, which is like human glue. It then settles in that position, so it sort of glues itself in position, and then mineralizes. So it gets mineralization. So imagine what can I think of as a similar? Your kettle, that gets mineralization. If you've got no filter for your kettle, you'll find that you're getting lime scale around the edge of the kettle, where you're pouring the water out, or where you're topping it up, or indeed if you fill it roughly to the same level every time, you'll have a little line inside the kettle. That's mineralization. So exactly the same things going on inside your kettle as goes on inside your bone, but it's the cells themselves. It's an absolutely microscopic level. And those cells, when the doctors say to people who have osteoporosis or osteopenia, those cells don't just need calcium. The more advanced doctors are giving, I say that with tongue in cheek a little actually, because the more advanced ones are now giving D3 with calcium. Well, the D3 helps to activate the function to stabilize calcium. However, because of the charges, so the electrical charge of the calcium, it can't load up too much of calcium. If you load just with calcium into bone, after 3 months you're adding nothing. So
Right.
or minuscule amounts. So you need the polarity of the other elements like magnesium and manganese and selenium and boron, and the other minerals are just as vital to manufacturing bone as calcium is. So anybody out there who's on a calcium supplement and is using it to try and treat either osteopenia or osteoporosis, go down to your health food shop tomorrow or your chemist tomorrow and go and get yourself a multi-mineral, not a calcium supplement. It is full of minerals. It is your mineral store, your skeleton. That's telling us about the cells that we can structure that are stabilized and structured, and we can restructure. So you can restructure those ones. I'm going to say a little bit more about the cells we can't restructure so easily, or indeed at all, and they're these ones in the brain. A lot of these are formed when you're just forming inside the uterus. So it's when you're an embryo, and if the mother doesn't get good nutrition at that stage, then I'm afraid it spoils the baby, unfortunately. And the doctors again seem to have this hang up about folic acid, and it just shows you how ridiculous that is, because the amount of folic acid that we say in this country that should be given is 400 micrograms. In Germany and in France and now in Italy, they're saying 600 micrograms. In America, they're saying 800 plus, and I actually think we need a milligram or 1,000 micrograms plus. There is no harm in overdoing that, but it's not the only nutrient. You need the nutrients to make that nerve tissue work properly. So the one thing that they're looking at is neural tube deficiencies or neural tube failures. What I'm looking at is trying to get the best for that baby or being coming onto the planet, and for that you need for the myelin to form on the nerves, we need big quantities of the B vitamins, especially B6, and yet doctors are afraid to recommend this. So I don't fully understand why. The recommendation from the doctors is normally 10 grams. I would say you want to push that up to probably at least 5 times that, somewhere around 50 milligrams in pregnancy. You'll get a child that is got better neuron connections, feels more stable, feels more secure, and less likely to suffer mental health problems like depression and anxiety problems. So we're talking about that kind of getting those nutrients into that child, and they will stay with them evidently for life, which is quite alarming really when you think of it like that. We can affect the new baby before it's even born. Yes,
can I just
Chris,
cut
sorry.
in? Could you just repeat that, because that really pricked my ears up about it causes depression and that in children, and this deficiency. I didn't quite catch it. So what is it the mother should have?
Right, the more stable you can make an organ function, so the more the more stability you can get into the organ, the better it will function. And it doesn't matter what organ that is. So if you'll see that that you'll get a higher incidence, for example, of lung cancer in smokers. But it's not only smokers that get lung cancer. So I'd like to make sure everyone is aware of that. But so you get a higher incidence of cancer in smokers. Why is that? Because it's taking in a toxin every day multiple times. If you're a 20 a day person, then you're taking 20 cigarettes in a day, and it's causing you that lung disease potentially. If you're an alcoholic, you won't have the same liver function as a non-alcoholic. The likelihood is that you would, if you carry on being an alcoholic, that you will actually have liver-based problems at some point in your life. It's quite likely. And likewise, if you can get the most stability in the brain, if those cells are there forever, then we want those to be as strong as we can get them at the point at which they're developing. Again, let's go back to that folic acid scenario. The doctors give you or recommend the folic acid because they want the neural tube to close on the spine, and it's part of the how can I put this, the neural tube closes better when there's more folic acid, or it closes when it needs that to cause that bone to heal over. So they're doing that at that stage. They're giving the folic acid at that stage to stop you getting spina bifida. Why aren't we giving the other B vitamins to make the brain healthier, stronger, and fitter? That's something that I do in my clinic when I get a fertility patient come in, but sadly I don't think the regular doctors are up to that at the moment. Does that answer your question, Chris?
Yes, sorry, I just muted my microphone. Yes, thanks, Miles. It does, because it was very, very interesting, what you were saying about how it can affect the child further on. And it's
now,
sort of,
Now, Chris, I'm going to refer to you for a little bit now. I've actually, in my clinic, I use a piece of equipment called a Vega machine, or a Vega Basis is what it's actually called. And this machine can actually tell me whether or not those cells have got enough of those nutrients. And obviously, it's not capable of changing the way in which they work, but it's capable of detecting if you've got enough of those nutrients in your body. And I think Chris has been champing at the bit for me to mention this machine.
Oh yes, it's a brilliant machine, and I would describe it.
Does tell what you, and it actually, it's very interesting the way in which it works, because you can tell more or less with people whether they've been taking naturally sourced nutrients, which are a lot easier for the body to process, or indeed synthetics. And I think this is the one that caught Chris out a little bit. He thought he was taking some nutrients. So I'll let Chris have a little, tell you a little bit about his story, and then I'll come back on. So I'll be sitting here, Chris.
What happens is I've been taking what I thought were the correct vitamins for years. I won't mention any trade names, but from the regular people, and thinking, oh, not going to be much wrong with me. And I went in on this Vega machine, which is absolutely excellent. And you put your hand on I believe it's just like a handle, and you put something on your finger, don't you, like a clip.
They're the electrodes, basically. They're the electrodes.
And it's painless, you know, and it's not worrying at all. It doesn't say, oh, you know, you're going to collapse in three seconds time or anything like that. You sit there, and it tells you it takes quite a time to go through what nutrients and minerals and things that you are lacking in your body. And I would refer it to, and I don't know whether Miles would agree with this, it's a bit like when they plug a computer into your car to find out what's wrong with the engine. That's really what it's like. You know, that you plug it in, you say, oh, yes.
A diagnostic machine.
You've got it in one. And
Yes.
I've actually got here, where is it now? I've got here, Miles did a full list of things. Now, I thought, there's not much wrong with me. He showed, he got through my tablets I was taking. That's synthetic. That's rubbish. That's rubbish. That's rubbish. No one was left. I think it was just one, wasn't it? That was more. And this was the full diagnostics that he did, which was
Wow.
there it
That's
is.
quite a list.
That's quite a list. And I was all sort of smug, thinking, "Hey, I'm taking all the vitamins."
Yeah.
And there's a
Well,
difference. We're going to do
So what that machine, sorry, Chris, what that machine's actually doing is looking at how the cells are responding in your body, seeing how you are, if you have enough of, when we select calcium, if you've got enough calcium in your body. And let's not get this wrong, calcium isn't just about bone. Calcium's needed for nerve function, brain function, digestion. It's needed for a whole range of things. So thinking it's just about bone is a poor way of looking at it. And it's a very poor way of looking at it. I'll come on to that in another show. Actually, I'm going to talk to you about various diseases in the subsequent shows. And I'm going to drop this one as probably the last little note of tonight before we do some questions. I'm going to explain and I hope show you that it's true that dairy products actually give you osteoporosis. They don't cure it. So when the doctor says, oh, go make sure you have plenty of cheese, plenty of butter, plenty of milk, don't. It's the wrong balance for a human being. It's an okay balance for a cow before it's pasteurized. But we'll talk about that in a subsequent show. Yeah. And like I say, in the new year, we'll do a show on perhaps ailments of caused by certain foods, or we'll do it as bone health or something along these lines. So yeah. I'm going to finish off with that statement. I hope it's a very difficult one for me to explain this because I haven't really given you as much information as I'd like to, but you either skate over it like I've done tonight, or you dive into such technicalities that I'd have to have sheets of paper and read from sheets of paper and do it like that because I wouldn't know it all off the top of my head either. So
we've got some questions.
Thank you very much.
That's right. Could I just cut in before we go any further? There was on YouTube, there's a very good documentary. I think it's American. I can't remember the name. I think it was something like the Dairy Conspiracy or something like that. And it actually revealed that the dairy industry is similar to the tobacco industry years ago. And because in the Victorian times, people didn't really have that much in dairy products. And it was the First World War which promoted it even more in America. And I think you could say that it's similar in this country. So it's well worth watching. And I think it's called the Dairy Conspiracy, but I could be wrong on that. It's something like that. It's worth watching because it is a real eye-opener. So that will back you up, Miles, what you say. And for next program, I'll try and find it.
It sounds as if it's similar another industry, the sugar industry. Until fairly recently, governors have taken liable actually saying sugar's good for you. So quite alarming, but we now thankfully are seeing some of the truth.
Yeah. That's right. I try and cut down on sugar. But okay, over to you. I'm sorry for cutting in earlier, Deb, but fire away. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say we have some comments and questions for Miles. So the first one's from Eamon. And I heard coffee can block absorption of minerals. I've heard this as well.
Coffee can block absorption of minerals. I don't know what's happened to the sound. We seem to have lost some sound here, but I've got the question up on the screen, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Coffee is a potential, what they call anti-nutrient, and yes, it can block it, and it can actually even steal nutrients from your body to detoxify it. Tea is probably just as bad and may in certain circumstances be even worse. So black tea, when I'm saying that. Green tea isn't so bad.
Super, thank you.
Because actually, you asked me, I never forget when I had this high blood pressure, I said, how many cups of tea do you have a day? And I said, over 10. It always collapsed. He said, cut it down to 2. And I said, sod that, I'm going to cut it out to 0. And I did. But you die for a couple of days when you cut out tea because your body craves for it. Yeah. But now I drink rhubarb tea, which is just like the other tea. Is there any problems with rhubarb tea, Miles?
You're really breaking up. I think you were asking about rhubarb tea.
That's right. Yes.
Rhubarb tea isn't like black tea or indeed green tea. Rhubarb tea actually is quite a health-giving. It's full of antioxidants. We'll talk about those in later shows as well, but make it known that they're good for you. It's full of antioxidants. It's I think a very acceptable taste. I don't think it is particularly like black tea or like coffee. It's more like black tea than it is coffee, but it's not like either. It contains very low tannins, no caffeine, and lots of polyphenols, which is they're quite good for you. You know, they can help you with certain ailments. So I would recommend rhubarb to people. Super. Any other questions?
Yes, it's very good. Yes. Anyway, mind you, I'll still have the occasional cup of tea, but just a one-off. That's it.
Yeah. Louise is asking, are beans as good for protein as people say?
What are people saying? Well, this is a big question. Beans, there's very few products that will give you high biological value protein. And what I mean by that is we're made up of a whole set of amino acids, and amino acids make up the proteins that make us up. And depending on who you listen to, there's between 9 and 12, I happen to think it is 11 actually as well, amino acids, but it's who you're talking to, that are called essential amino acids. And that means you can make amino acids from for all of your body, from all 11. Beans, there's no bean out there except for soya, which contains all of the essential amino acids. There's also soya is way off the same balance of those amino acids that we would need to put us in good health. So if you're looking for a vegan or vegetarian way of getting protein, well, in fact, don't go vegetarian, go vegan. If you're vegan, if you're looking for vegan protein sources, you've got to really look at getting a good balance of proteins from various different sources, like different kind of nuts, different kind of seeds, different kind of beans. Quinoa is another one that's got, or quinoa is another one that's got all of the essential amino acids that we need. So you've got to mix it up much more if you're vegan to get the right balance of amino acids. Okay.
Super, thank you. Right, there's one from Yorkshire Rose here. Does Miles have a recommendation for daily supplementation of vitamins and minerals for an adult as a minimum? Is there a difference if you have an autoimmune disease?
Yes. Oh, big question. The autoimmune disease, I don't like using that word autoimmune. If you've got an immune deficiency, whereby your immune system isn't working properly, it's just another illness. So we've got to correct that autoimmune disease, and that may take a long time, because it may be that you aren't working at a cellular level and working correctly at a cellular level, and so your immune system isn't functioning right. I've heard people say, oh, you shouldn't take vitamins and minerals because it makes your immune system work even more. No, it'll make it work more correctly. The likelihood is. So if you have an autoimmune disease, you're Yorkshire Rose, so you're presumably up in your find good nutrition and get tested and get found out what you're short of. More important for someone with an autoimmune disease to get the right nutrients.
Yeah.
Is there a minimum, you also asked? Yeah, there's a minimum for everyone, but I'm not here to talk about minimums. I don't really believe that anyone should be anywhere near the minimum that they need to keep them alive. Minimum of what are called RD, recommended daily amounts. That tells you what the minimum is for 66.6 reoccurring percent of the population. So just look at RDAs if you want to find the minimum, but you're way off the mark. For example, the RDA for vitamin C in this country, I believe, is 60 milligrams. That may even be 40, I'm not sure. And that's how little I pay attention to that. If I felt a person needed vitamin C for a certain function or functionality of their body, I'd be dosing in gram quantities, not in milligrams, and certainly not as low as sort of 40 or 60 milligrams. And again, in the States, because they're so different to us, they're structurally so different to us, the norm or the RDA in the States is 100 milligrams. And it's like, they're meaningless figures. It's the amount you need to stop you getting scurvy with vitamin C. And I've never met anyone with scurvy. And I hope I don't, because they would be very poorly and very ill, in my opinion.
Yeah. Thank you. Michelle's asking, what can we take for cellular damage due to EMFs, please, Miles?
Can you put that up on the screen? I'm getting such poor... I don't know what's going on. The voice take for cellular damage to EMFs, please. Now we're back onto the oxidants. Realistically, what happens to cells when they're exposed to EMFs? They get damaged, so your immune system then will want to clean out the way and rebuild it with some fresh cells. If you look at, for example, pylons, the high tension pylons that you find around my shop in that general area, they're all over the place in Waltham. They're carrying sort of 1,000 or 10,000 volts across many miles, and okay, they're up in the air and they're quite high up there, but that it gives off EMF. From those is known to cause cancer. And in Russia, they won't allow you to build within a residential property within 8 kilometers, 5 miles of a power station, or a pylon, or a substation. So, yeah, I don't think Russia gets everything right, but I think that they're right about that. It's very damaging, and the way to protect it would be nice, big, powerful, broad spectrum antioxidants. So a good antioxidant formula. Don't go for one product. Go for a few products, because some are very intense in what they do, but only act as antioxidants for a small range of cells or for a small range of problems. Others work for a whole range of problems, but they're not as powerful. So it's you've got to get breadth and height on your graph. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know if you want to ask the next one, Chris, because I don't know if he can hear you better than he can hear me. Mute.
Are you, Chris?
Oh, that's better. Sorry, I'm on mute.
Mute yourself.
Excuse me. Now, would that one be John Basinglow? I'm not quite sure where you are.
No, Michelle was the next one. I suffer with RA.
Right, just one moment. Oh, yes. Michelle, I suffer with RA. Any homeopathic suggestions, please, Miles? Thanks.
I'm not a homeopath, so I can't recommend anything homeopathic because it would be out of my remit and I'd feel uncomfortable with that at best, and downright fraud if I said I was a homeopath. I'm not, but I'll try and help recommend some things for you for rheumatoid arthritis from a nutritional point of view or from a herbal point of view, two areas where I'm trained. The rheumatoid arthritis tends to come and go with most people. It tends to come in waves and it affects the whole of their joints. They get inflammation in the whole joints and then that eases off and they get a spell where it's not so bad. And then they'll get a spell where it's bad. There's a number of reasons that you get inflammatory processes taking place, and any of the natural anti-inflammatories. I mean, my favourite one for this, if you're in real problems, is bromelain, which is a pineapple enzyme.
Right.
And bromelain. Sorry.
No, I just said right.
Okay.
I've never heard of that.
All right. Well, bromelain in clinical trials, bromelain outperformed diclofenac, which is Voltarol, sorry, and ibuprofen. Not in its speed of action, but in once it was up and running, it worked better than those two. For speed of action, they both beat it by about a day or so. If you're taking bromelain, this is assuming that you're okay to take bromelain, because bromelain shouldn't be taken by people with warfarin and certain blood disorders. Perhaps should get some advice. But if you're okay to take bromelain, it's an enzyme found in pineapple. I don't think you're going to get the amount of bromelain you need from pineapple. It's you'd need around about 5 1/4 normal sized pineapples 4 times a day to get enough bromelain from them.
Right,
so it's you want to take it about 4 times a day to start off with, and it will clear it pretty quick. The other ones which can be more cost effective are things like turmeric and even devil's claw, which can be very good, and these are natural anti-inflammatories. They won't act as quickly, but they're a little bit better value than bromelain, and they'll see through. The other way to go, which is what I recommend people, my health food shop is in an area that's listed as being depraved, actually, although I find that hard to believe, but it is. And what we tend to recommend to people if they are on a tight budget is fish oil. Now, it's been shown that fish oil, 2.7 grams of fish oil per day, reduces the incidence of RA, but you need to take that permanently. So it's not going to help you for up to about 6 weeks for it to kick in. So that really is taking time, whereas the bromelain should take about 3 days, 2 to 3 days. So it depends on how serious you're getting the attacks, what kind of problems you're getting, etc., etc. Okay, next question has come on the screen. What was the dose of bromelain? Bromelain comes in two measures. You've got two measures with bromelain. You've got the weight, so you've got the milligrams that each capsule contains of bromelain, and then you've got its activity, its potency, if you like. The one that I sell in the shop, I've got two levels. They're more or less the same price, but we had a problem getting hold of the stronger one through the pandemic, and so we got a different one in. Ours are 2,400 GDUs, which is gelatine digesting units. And you want to go at least for 1,800 GDUs, and you'll see it listed on the back, the GDU, and it may be written another measure of it, MCUs. Just take it; they're almost identical actually in their figure. So MCU milk clotting units, but the one that I sell in my shop, and others are available, is made by a company called Cellular, and another one by Higher Nature. They're both good products. They're both more or less the same price.
Right. Thank you.
And also, can I just cut in? Sorry, Deb. Is that right that sometimes some manufacturers, what they sell to the trade, like yourself, is different to what they sell to the public? So you'll get a better dose if you come to yourself.
What happens? Well, what happens in my shop? I've been a nutritionist. Okay, I haven't had my PhD for all this time, but I've been a nutritionist since 1999, and 3 years. The products that I sell in my shops that I have faith in, products that I know work, and products that I know of good efficacy. Sadly, buying off the internet, you can get copy products. I've actually seen them myself. People have bought me, I've got the same product. Look, it just doesn't look the same. It might be a label that's printed in a very similar way, but it's not finished as well, it's not made as well, it's not structured as well, and it's not the same product. So they're buying some bootleg product. Sadly, it seems that this industry does have that side to it. So
yes,
to my shop, we'll send them out to you, which I would appreciate. I'd appreciate your business. Or go to your local shop and ask them, not Holland and Barrett, I mean a proper independent health food shop, and ask them the questions. They should, if they can't come up with the similar sort of answers that I'm coming out with, then they shouldn't really be running a health food shop.
Yeah.
The only thing I buy in Holland and Barrett is their licorice, but I don't have licorice anymore because it's not good for you. So that's it. That was years ago. There's an interesting one from John Basinglow here, who's actually in Alabama. So sugar of all kinds is one of the worst poisons you can ingest. In our system.
We can
High fructose
corn syrup is a recipe for liver disaster. Absolutely. The man singing from the same hymn sheet as me. You can't. The body's not designed to take sugars in any way, shape, or form. So corn syrup, fructose, glucose is already been proved to be so dangerous for us. But unfortunately, if you think back to our history, because sugars are what make us tick at a certain level, it's what keeps you going, it's what's keeping me thinking, it's what's keeping me talking, it's what's keeping me breathing. So it craves sugars, it naturally craves sugars, but that doesn't mean that you have to give it sugars in a refined form. It's much better to give it a slower release that releases over a period of time, and that would be from solid whole fruit. This is why yet another one we're going to be talking about in a subsequent show, my lack of appreciation for juicing. I don't really go with juicing. I think it's much too high in sugars.
Yeah.
So, sorry, the gentleman's name is gone, but I fully endorse what
John
he said.
Maginot. How are
Yeah.
you, Deb?
Oh, thank you. Let me see. Trying to find another question. We've asked all the questions now, so it's just the comments.
No, yes. Ancient Ruby's come up with a good. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
John's saying if you have RA, do not let them put you on methotrexate. I suggest you stay away from that medication. After research, I refuse to take it. You may already be aware of this.
methotrexate. They even tell you it's not a treatment for the disease. It's actually what they call a disease modifying medicine. Well, why do you want to modify a disease? For goodness sake, you want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Go and get yourself some decent supplements. Get yourself some natural anti-inflammatories that aren't going to ruin the rest of your body to get rid of the issue. Here's something that a lot of people don't know. Well, I would think they don't know. Actually, let's go back a bit more. We'll go back a bit more to the distant past when I was a youth, a young man. I worked at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital in Stanmore. A very good pioneering hospital. I believe that they still are. In their day, they were seen as being one of the best orthopaedic hospitals in the world. And I used to, even after I'd left, because I liked the people there, I used to go back and it's very apt at this time of year. I used to go around and do the carols with in the wards with the other technicians. I am sure it was to do with the camaraderie of going around and doing the carols, but it was also to do with the fact that we found ourselves in the Vine pub at the end of those carols, having a little beverage and a snack to eat. And I asked at that time, I won't give the surgeon's name, but I asked an orthopedic surgeon whether he was aware that anti-inflammatories, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, you'll see them, they're labeled as NSAIDs, NSAIDs. And if he knew that these broke down cartilage, and all of them do it. It's not sort of one, they all do it. Aspirin does it. That's why they give you omeprazole or lansoprazole if you're taking aspirin on a semi-permanent or permanent basis. And he said, oh yes, I'm fully aware of that. So I said, well, why on earth do you recommend it then? You know, it's so dangerous. Why are you recommending a thing that's going to speed up the progression of the illness that they're suffering from? His answer to that was, the short-term gain is worth the long-term loss. At that stage, I realized that I sort of reached the end of my tether with modern medicine.
Yeah.
It's never worth giving another disease to cure one disease unless it's life-threatening. And these are all orthopedic problems, so potentially not life-threatening, but lifestyle changing. So I would never give or recommend NSAIDs to anyone. So I've got another one here. I have anaphylactic.
I have an anaphylactic.
Yeah, so anaphylactic shock to anything. Don't ever take them. The bromelain info was great. I hope it helps you. I really hope it helps you. But like I say, the longer term fix, if you wanted a nice cheap fix, and it's got other things that are great alongside it, would be to take fish oils. But don't worry about what it says on the back of the label. When it says, oh, take one a day, meaningless. Take 3 a day. You need 2.7 grams of normal type fish oil. If you're getting a posher fish oil, how much are you going to need? You're going to need about a gram a day of the omega-3 fatty acids. And most fish oils come out at about 300 milligrams per 1,000 milligram capsule. I hope that is clear.
What about Udo's, Miles?
Udo's is great. Oh, come on, suggest an alternative to butter. Yeah, I mean, the only alternative that I've found that's suitable, it depends what you're trying to do with the butter. If you're spreading it on bread, depending on what you're putting with that bread, strangely enough, I make my own mayonnaise, and I use that for certain things, but it tends to be more in the summer. The other thing that's okay on bread that I quite like on bread is olive oil. And yet another thing on bread that you can do is coconut oil, but don't heat the olive oil up. Whatever you do, you can put it on the bread, but don't heat the oil up. It can't take heat.
Someone said put the olive oil in the freezer and you can spread it like butter when it comes out.
That's
Wow.
not a
I've
bad
done
idea.
it. I haven't actually done
No,
it myself.
No, I haven't done that, but it
No.
sounds okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. But the other one is Ancient Ruby said, I heard soya in high. This is what I've heard. I've heard soya in high doses are not healthy at all. And I was told
Soya,
by. Sorry?
soya really is overpushed and overhyped. Because it's got those essential amino acids. Sadly, people latch onto it and they'll have what's called TVP or soya protein. TVP is textured vegetable protein, and they'll have it virtually every day. And it's like anything, you know, if you're a meat eater, you wouldn't eat a burger, would you? They eat so. It is quite harmful to the thyroid if you take soy, and even in moderate doses, it can be harmful to the certain people.
Right.
I was actually told by a palmist, bloke read my palm, and he said, don't take. He said, do you have soy milk? I said, yeah. He said, well, don't take that. It's bad for your thyroid. You know what you said. So
Yeah.
that's quite interesting.
Mm.
Yes.
This is a bit of a worrying comment from Mike. I remember camping under a pylon at a festival and getting electric shocks off the tent poles. It's quite worrying.
I got similar at a platform at a train station. I actually had I had an umbrella up and it's raining, and I had this buzzing between my head and the umbrella. Bzzz.
Oh,
It's weird.
it's a bit scary.
Yeah, seriously. And I went bald. Seriously, I went a bit bald after that.
Yeah.
Well, my brother did this, and this was a natty little trick that I saw him do, and I didn't believe it was true. You warm up a fluorescent tube, so you let it run for 10, 15 minutes, and then immediately go out with it and hold it up in the air underneath a pylon. It starts fluorescing again, which is a bit balmy, really. There must be so much radiation coming off it that it actually it makes it fluoresce again. That's too much radiation for my liking.
Yeah, me too.
Well, they're building an estate near where I live, or almost next to where I live, and there's a electricity, what they call it, small generating substation. That's about 100 yards away from my house, which I'm not happy about. So, that's all. It's fulfilled.
Did they ask you if you would accept that being built close to your house?
No. Well, the planning, that's another section. That is one of the most corrupt planning meetings I've ever seen. It just went straight through.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's another discussion then altogether.
That's another discussion.
Okay.
But,
are we finished with the questions? Are we done?
There is one more that's just popped up, a question.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Has Miles any advice to cure for periodontal disease, please?
Oh, now this is the kind of thing that we want to see. There is a protocol. I said that because it's only half come through on my screen. I'm getting some problems here with this. Yeah. As Miles, any advice to cure periodontal disease? In What Doctors Don't Tell You, which is one of my favourite monthly magazines, there was an article, I believe it was in 2021, about how to cure and actually heal teeth. There's a protocol to cure dental decay and to actually regrow that tooth enamel. Unfortunately, I can't remember all the details of it, but I'm sure if you go to the What Doctors Don't Tell You website, you may well find you get there. They'll probably get a subscription from you, but I'm sure you'll find it really interesting if you wanted to go for it. There is definitely an article from previous years about periodontal disease and how to cure it. My advice is keep your teeth clean. Don't overbrush, underbrush. You can overbrush and you can brush the enamel away, because remember, toothpaste is an abrasive agent, and keep the plaque off it, because the plaque is where you get a build-up of bacteria and you get a build-up of then acid from the bacteria that rots your teeth.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's all I can say at the moment, unfortunately.
Robert, who's excellent, he sends a lot of information to the show. So thanks, mate. As Robert, he sends in, he often contacts me. Aren't we better off building up a store of bromelain, as I try to do with iodine, 6 drops per day?
As I try to do with iodine, 6 per day.
Yes.
Bromelain won't. Bromelain is an enzyme, so you won't actually find that your body stores it. This is why you want to start with quite a large dose of bromelain. I didn't actually tell you how many of those capsules to take per day, but you probably need about 4 to start off with for the average person, 3 or 4 of the 500 milligram, 1,400 GDU capsules. You certainly could drop that once it's under control and probably maintain it with just 1 or 2 per day. But the body won't store it. So as soon as you stop taking it, it'll decline quite quickly. I'm not sure the rate it will decline, but probably within 3-4 days, you'll find it won't be effective.
Right.
He's gone on to some books. People with degenerative muscle conditions such as muscular dystrophy.
Right. This really is a nutritional deficiency of the cells in the nerves of the muscles and in the muscles themselves. Yeah, I mean, the first place I would look would be those B vitamins here, without getting you into the clinic and knowing more about it. I'd be looking at the B vitamins. I would also make sure that you've got some good high biological value protein, and that you keep your body in an alkaline state. So those things will slow down the degeneration of the muscle and give the muscles a chance to even regenerate. Usage is important. Anyone who doesn't use muscle will lose muscle. So try and keep those muscles moving. It's very hard if you've got something like muscular dystrophy, but you must try and keep them load bearing if you possibly can, and you must keep them moving. If you can't move them while you're on land, get down to a swimming pool and have a splash around in the shallow side, obviously, of the swimming pool. It takes the weight off, but you'll still be moving your limbs, and you'll also be supported while you do it by the water.
Yeah,
excellent. But also, Ancient Ruby says my question was missed. Sorry,
no, we've asked it now. Yeah,
we've asked.
Butter one.
That was a butter one. Yes. Robert Dorr says, I have a loved one in hospital at the moment. I'm sorry to hear that, Robert, who has started experiencing breathing difficulties with breathing and clearing mucus from the lungs due to lack of power in muscles.
Due to lack of power in muscles. Wow. I'm sorry to hear that, Robert. That sounds quite serious. Clearing mucus. How's this mucus got into the lung? Is it a chest infection? Is it a injury of some kind, or do they have some other degenerative type disease in their lung? The interesting thing here is, and I don't want this becoming the bromelain show, but bromelain can actually clear phlegm from the lung. It's very, very effective at it. It breaks up the mucus. It sort of digests it and would help the person to express it. That's if they've got enough lung capacity to do that. The other thing would be N-acetylcysteine, or AC, a similar sort of action. It breaks up the phlegm, stops. Phlegm's actually sort of stringy and elasticated, and this would stop being elasticated, so when they cough they bring the phlegm off the lung. Please ask the hospital if you can administer that. A lot of hospitals won't let you. I hope that yours does. Right, the next one. I've read that ozone helps to heal small holes in the teeth. Is this true? Robert, you know more than me, mate. Possibly. Yeah, no, I don't know. But it sounds good.
Right. This one.
Your body in an alkaline. How do we keep your body in an alkaline state, please?
Oh, we need a show on this.
Yes.
It might be a show that we do quite soon in the year. Sorry?
We could do this on the next one, Miles, couldn't we? We could do this because a lot of people are interested with all coughs and sneezes and things like that around this time of the year. People are interested in,
and also the big problem is with getting into an alkaline state. There's certain foods that will alkalize your blood, and if you've got an alkaline blood terrain, you probably won't get any degenerative diseases. It's quite remarkable, really. But the problem is you can go too alkaline, and then you've got no zip and no get up and go. It tends to leave you a bit flat. So you need to get alkalized, but you also need to have some. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. If you eat an orange, for example, it'll give you a certain lift. You'll get a certain amount of energy. It feels like energy is quite the right word, but a certain amount of vavavoom from an orange. An orange is actually acid forming, and it sort of goes against the grain a little bit to be saying that to people. Oh, go and eat orange if you're trying to get alkaline, but you need some acid forming foods as well. It's about the balance, but you want it slightly in favor of the alkaline foods. We will do a show on that, I think.
Yes. Sounds good.
How do you keep your body in an alkaline state? That's it. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is an interesting one from Robert again. Speaking of fish oil, will oily fish suffice?
We sort of covered this a little bit in program 2, I believe it was. The trouble is, unless you're eating sushi, you're cooking the oils, and the oils are very, very heat sensitive. And I mean, I do eat sushi, but I don't eat anything like enough sushi to satisfy the requirements of my fish oil consumption. The other way to do it, I mean, if you're open to the ideas of having if you wanted to take an alternative in a vegan form, is like Chris is doing, and that's to take the Udo's oil. Your body will turn that into, in most cases, it will turn it into animal forms of omega-3, and they work absolutely the same. It's a way to longer for it to actually kick in and start working. If you were to eat fish, you'd probably need, and I'm guesstimating here, but you'd probably need a portion of oily fish that's either incredibly lightly cooked or not cooked at all. You'd probably need something like the size of a small herring or mackerel per day to get enough oils.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's an interesting, you see, you're saying about vitamin C, Miles, about humans. We
Actually,
can't
I'm going to come back to the oils. Chris, can I come back to the oils just for a second? If you look at
certainly.
The Stone Age man, he would have eaten nothing but foods that can, his animal products would have been nothing but foods that are very rich in omega-3. If you were to have wild boar, venison, partridge, pheasant, we leave out rabbit and hare because they're a bit strange. Actually, I'll talk to you in a second about them. But so the game animals and the bits of fish that he would have, well, they feel that he would have caught, they're all very high in omega-3, and so that would have been eaten either raw or very lightly cooked, because they would have had to have butchered it and eaten it fairly quickly before the wild animals around it get the scent of it and come and eat it. I said I'd come back to that. What was I going to come back to? No.
Oily fish, wasn't it?
So, oily fish, yeah, oily fish. As soon as you cook it, it starts degenerating the omega-3 fatty acids. So you're much better with a capsule, much better. And if you want to go even one step further, you could take less capsules and take krill oil. It's even higher in omega-3. Very, very sustainable, because there's so much krill in the world, and yeah, it's probably the highest by weight food source of omega-3.
It's interesting. There's another one here which is quite interesting. I won't say the word. I ordered something from a German pharmacy online, but cheapest way I use Bimectin horse paste. Never heard it. Taking it twice a week, past 2 years. And I'm more. Have you heard of that?
I don't.
No.
I ordered something from Germany pharmacy online, but
I use
this way. I use horse paste.
Taking it twice a week for the past 2 years or more, if I'm around those people.
If I'm around, yeah, okay. What can we say?
What is it? Have you heard of Bimectin horse paste, Miles? I've never heard of it.
Bimectin? No, I haven't. But
must be a version of
that
one.
Yeah, I think it is. It must be. Yeah, I would have thought so.
Yeah. But I'm a bit suspect of it.
Again, there are horse products. There are horse products that are very strong anti-inflammatory. They've moved into the industry from the equine industry. One of them is MSM, which you may have seen in certain health food shops and health food products. MSM is a very good anti-inflammatory, but nothing like as good as mine.
No.
And this is something that you've got a machine for, isn't it, Miles? What Space Cadet Lottie has said. I nebulize homemade colloidal silver for breathing or congestion difficulties. And I believe you can do your own. You've actually got a machine that makes colloidal silver.
Can you put that one up? I'm struggling to hear you, I'm afraid.
Okay. It's on the screen. I nebulize homemade colloidal silver for breathing or congestion difficulties.
Here we go. I ordered I nebulise homemade colloidal silver for breathing or congestive difficulties. Does it work? I'm surprised if it does, but it would clear infection potentially. If it's nebulized, though, I would have thought it wouldn't have. Well, I don't know how the nebulizer works. I'd have to know more about nebulization of silver. Silver itself will kill infection dramatically. Very, very good at killing off all kinds of bacteria, indeed viruses.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we draw to a close?
Yes.
Why not? Miles, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Now,
Thank you.
was it once a month, isn't it? You come on, and the reason you can't do Mondays is because it's your busiest day. And we've had a pretty good response tonight. This is really good. So people are getting to hear this once a month thing. And it would be nice if we could do it, as I say, it would be regular. So please watch out for future shows. If you've got any questions, please ask Miles. And all the details about his shop, his contact details are below in the description. So you can find out all about that. And all I've got to say is thank you. Remember to put the thumbs up.
Yes.
And subscribe. And it's free to subscribe. So you don't have to pay anything. Thumbs up. Thank you, Miles, for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Debs. Thank you very much.
We're trying to sort out the sound problem. There's something really going weird with these.
Yeah, there is. It's odd tonight.
We get nights like this. We've had 3 nights like this.
Yeah.
So if you've got anything in your shop to cure John Hamerism's funny computer problems.
Yeah.
What's happening?
So thanks for joining us, and I think should we roll the credits? Remember,
chat, I think, have I? Oh
no, you're still in. Yeah, and remember, have a good laugh.
Yes,
laughter is the best medicine.
It is,
unless you've got diarrhea. That's the only thing. Yes,
absolutely.
Sorry, I shouldn't have got that.
Not
very professional. A happy Christmas.
Is that it for today?
It is.
No, we're still live.
We're still live. I'm just about to run the outro. Good night, everyone. I'll catch you a week on Monday. Chris will be here next Monday.
Sorry, I didn't mean to chime in.
Merry Christmas to everyone. See you in the new year.
You too, Miles.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Debs. Thanks,
Bye.
Chris. Bye.
We got it.
Sorry, Chris. What were you going to say then?
No, I was just going to say I'll be on with Michelle this Monday at 8 o'clock, and that's it.
You will. Yes. Right. Good night, everybody.
Right.
I'll get out. And that won't let me leave.